All right, so I'm going to make a movie on some of the tips that we went over before. So let me start with this is InDesign CS6. I'm going to create a new document, and it's going to pop up my new document window. When it does that, there's a couple of things that we want to be aware of. First of all, when we deal with our web here, we're not really dealing with a web page. We're dealing with some standard web sizes. So this isn't for outputting a web page, it's for outputting to the web. So it doesn't necessarily mean something that you're going to put on the web. But it could be something like a PDF or those kinds of things. So it's something for viewable on the screen. Digital publishing does mean for the digital publishing system that Adobe has, part of its entire Adobe publishing system. I'm going to go back to print, and I'm going to leave it at the standard default. But I'm going to change my page numbers to 2, and I'm going to start at page 2. And what that's going to do is eliminate that other page that it normally creates when I create a default. I'm going to leave my columns at 1, but I'm actually going to go into my gutter and I'm going to set that to 0. I'm going to go into my margins as well, and I'm going to set those to 0. And then if I click on the fewer, or depending on how it's set, the more options in this case, you'll notice I get my slug and my bleed. I'm going to leave my bleed in at 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to click OK, and it's going to create a 8.5 by 11 layout for me, but with only 2 pages. So instead of creating multiple pages for me where I've got that head page first, I'm going to just create the 2 pages that I want, and it's going to start with page 2 and 3. So if I look in my pages window, you can see it started with pages 2 and 3. Even though that's only a single page, it started with page 2 and 3. So that's pretty cool. The next thing that I wanted to just talk about, we all know about the guides, and I'm just going to drag a couple out for you quickly so you can see them and put them on my stage. It's the W on my keyboard. When I click the W on my keyboard, what happens is that it'll hide all of that other information for me and allow me to just focus on the content by hitting W on the keyboard. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I've got the ability to look at presentation choices in different ways. So one is I can come up to this top board here and I can look at it as preview, which I didn't select. There we go, which is the same thing as hitting W on my keyboard, by the way. Or I can look at with it cropped to the bleed mark, so you can see that if I jump back out of there, there's my bleed mark. I'm going to actually leave my arrow there and click on it, and you can see that's exactly where it's cutting to. And of course, if I had a slug, which I do not have in this one, it would show to my slug. But the one that I was really interested in showing you is this one, and that's the presentation. And it's a little difficult on my screen to show you, but what happened is everywhere but around my actual document has got a black border on it. So this is similar to hitting F on your keyboard in Photoshop or Illustrator, where it allows me to get rid of all the clutter, and I can focus on just showing what's going on for my client, so my client can see what's going on, but without having to get into exactly all of the controls and whatnot, which freaks people out. The other thing that I just briefly wanted to talk about is that we can right click at any point in time, just like we can in all other applications, and change from points to pikas or from pikas to inches or whatever. So it's a great way of giving yourself some assistance in trying to create your documents. All right, I'm going to end right here, and I'll come back and we're going to talk about some of these cool guides and some of the things that we can do with those.